Someone has a bad week, and their first move is booking a therapy session. You have a bad week, and you sit with it, work through it on your own, and by the next morning you've already moved on. Nobody taught you a method. You just figured out how to process things yourself, and it works. That thing where you handle your own stuff internally instead of paying someone to walk you through it, that's not random. You don't ignore your problems. That's the thing. You think about them probably more than most people do. You sit with something, turn it over, trace it back to where it started, and eventually it clicks. Somewhere between a long workout, a shower that went 20 minutes too long, or 3 hours staring at a ceiling, you sort it out on your own. Your brain does something called intellectualization. It takes something emotionally heavy and shifts it into the cognitive lane. Instead of sitting in the feeling, you analyze it. You analyze it. You identify the pattern, trace where it came from, and file it away as understood. Your brain turns emotion into data, and data is something you can work with. That's why something genuinely difficult can happen to you, and you're functional the next day. You processed it before you even had to decide whether it was worth talking about. Same thing with arguments, bad news, tough decisions. By the time most people are still sitting in the feeling, you've already moved through it. But that system doesn't just flip on when things go wrong. It runs in the background all the time. You're always monitoring yourself. That not dramatically, just this low-level process where you're checking in, regulating your output, making sure you don't become someone else's problem. You handle your own bad moods, manage your own stress, and never make it anyone else's job. And because you do that so consistently, everyone around you thinks you're fine, because you always look fine. Not because you're pretending, but because by the time anyone sees you, you've already handled it. And every time you bounce back, the cost goes somewhere you're not tracking. There's a term for what happens when your body manages stress without ever offloading it. Allostatic load. It's the compounding physical wear of being your own crisis manager around the clock. Your body keeps a running tab on all that unshared weight. And it doesn't show up as a breakdown. It shows up as exhaustion. You can't explain, tension you can't locate, sleep that never fully recharges you. The one time you do let something slip, a bad day, a short answer, a moment where the energy just dips, people treat it like a glitch. They assume you'll bounce back by tomorrow, and you do. But the tab stays open. So you've got a brain that processes its own crises, a body that's quietly keeping score, and an entire identity built around not needing help. None of that showed up randomly, but the part nobody examines, including you, is why this system got built in the first place, and that origin matters. Because not every version of this comes from the same place. From the outside, someone who genuinely processes well on their own and someone who can't let anyone in look exactly the same. Both handle things independently. Both seem fine. But the engine running underneath is completely different. There's a cognitive bias called the asymmetric insight illusion. Your brain genuinely believes your inner world is more complex than anyone else's, that no stranger with a notepad could decode what took you years to map. And honestly, a lot of the time that's accurate. But the bias part is that it also stops you from noticing the gaps in your own map. The blind spots you can't see precisely because you're the one looking. Not every version of this comes from the same root. Some people handle their own stuff because their internal system genuinely works. They process through action, through time, through sitting with things, and they come out the other side clean. That's just how they're built. But some people handle everything alone because, at some point, relying on someone else didn't work out. And their system learned that letting someone in, letting someone see what's actually going on, isn't safe. One is preference, the other is protection. And the difference matters, because one you just keep doing, the other one's worth sitting with. The first one goes quiet, when something's wrong, processes it, and genuinely comes back lighter. The first one goes quiet when something's wrong, processes it, and genuinely comes back lighter. The second one goes quiet too, processes it, and comes back looking lighter, but the weight just moved somewhere they stopped checking. And both of them would tell you the exact same thing. I just prefer handling things myself, and regardless of which one you are, the system you built runs into the same wall. I'll be honest, for most people watching this, the system works. It genuinely does, but it has one blind spot. You've spent so long being the person who handles everything that when you actually hit the wall, and at some point everyone does, nobody around you has the blueprint to step in, not because they don't care. Not because they don't care, because you never gave them access. The armor got so good that it locks in both directions. So that bad week you handled on your own while someone else was booking an appointment, you didn't do that because you're avoiding something. You did it because somewhere along the way, your brain decided the fastest way through anything is to go alone. You did it because somewhere along the way, your brain decided the fastest way through anything is to go alone. You didn't fix the problem, you just learned how to carry it without complaining. And if you've ever wondered why you also have a hard time asking for things you clearly need, same engine, different gear, subscribe if you want more of these. I break them down every week.